Hey everybody, Ghost Boy here, and it's almost the end of January, so I'm here to do my annuary top 10 best winter horror movies list. But this time, with a twist. So I've noticed lately my videos have been getting gradually longer and longer, and I do enjoy doing in-depth reviews, but some movies I watch and don't really have a lot to say about them, even if I really enjoyed the film. And since I have two different YouTube channels now, I'm gonna be a sellout and start making shorter videos again. Like those people who make TikTok videos or YouTube shorts. Not really, because this video is gonna be way longer than 60 seconds, but I'm just gonna tell you a brief plot synopsis for each film and tell you a few reasons why I enjoyed it so much. Same rules as always, I like having a wide variety of different horror subgenres on my lists, including psychological, found footage, thriller, mystery, supernatural, anthology, action, slasher, and paranormal hauntings. And I know people are going to complain about some of the movies I have on this list and probably argue with me that they aren't technically horror movies, but this is my list, I make the rules, so I'll do whatever I want, thank you very much. Some of these movies just happen to take place during winter, but in some of the films, the weather is a big part of the storyline. None of these movies are in any type of order, but number one is definitely one of the best cult classic winter horror movies of all time. Now, with all that being said, let's begin our list. Don't Blink. 10 friends arrive at a remote mountain resort for a weekend of relaxation, but find it deserted. Bewilderment turns to terror as members of their group begin to mysteriously disappear one by one. So, this is kind of a supernatural, psychological horror film. And I've never seen a movie with this type of premise before. Besides, maybe, This Is the End. And I'm not saying this film is like that one, it just has a similar premise. People keep vanishing into thin air like Thanos snapped his fingers or something. So people start losing their minds, not knowing what's happening. Some believe God is taking them to heaven, while others convince themselves there has to be a logical explanation for everything. This is really random, but the ending of this film kinda reminded me of the ending of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 4. And I'm sure I'm the only person who thought that, but I thought it was worth mentioning just in case. And I should probably give everyone a heads up that this film really doesn't answer any questions or explain anything. So if you're one of those people who needs an explanation for everything, you probably won't enjoy this film. But I personally really loved it. Don't Blink is a very strange movie, with some really cool ideas and a very unique premise. So if you're in the mood for a scary movie that will really make you think, then I recommend watching Don't Blink. The Bad Shepherd. In the remote wilderness, a group of friends embark on a fateful hunting trip that takes a dark turn when they unintentionally take the life of a mysterious stranger carrying a bag full of cash. So, this is a psychological thriller with a supernatural twist. And I wasn't sure if I should mention that there's a supernatural twist, but the trailer for this movie makes the film look pretty generic. And I think part of what makes it so great and unique is the supernatural element. So don't let anyone spoil this film for you, but definitely check it out. After reading the description of this movie, I was worried it was gonna be copying I Know What You Did Last Summer. But thankfully, it's nothing like that movie. Although I did find some similarities between this film and The Ritual. This is a very fast-paced movie. Everything happens very quickly, so nothing ever felt stale or got boring. I've only seen a few reviews for this movie, and most of them were negative. But I truly don't understand why people disliked this film. If you like thriller movies full of surprises, you should definitely check this one out. So if you're waiting out a snowstorm that needs to be weathered, then I recommend checking out The Bad Shepherd. Godforsaken. An indie filmmaker returns to his hometown to attend a funeral of a childhood friend. But while attending the wake, the woman seemingly rises from the dead. So this is an indie found footage film with a very large, grand scale. It starts really small, but by the end of the film, the stakes are so high, you feel as if the whole world could be in danger. And I thought that, along with everything else about this film, was very impressive, especially considering this is a low-budget found footage movie. This movie is also genuinely frightening. Some things we see and some things we just hear people describe, but both of which are extremely scary and honestly nightmare-inducing. This film has a really cool, creepy concept and an absolutely fantastic execution. So if you want a snowy found footage film that's so scary it will leave you shaken, then I recommend checking out Godforsaken. Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire. The Spengler family returns to the iconic New York City firehouse, where the original Ghostbusters have taken ghost busting to the next level. But when the discovery of an ancient artifact unleashes an evil force, Ghostbusters new and old must reunite to protect their home and save the world from a second ice age. So if people don't know this about me already, I'm a giant Ghostbusters fan. I mean, my name is Ghost Boy, so of course I'm going to love anything ghost related. And just like in the previous film, Ghostbusters Afterlife, this movie is filled with tons of Easter eggs and references to the original Ghostbusters film. And I really love that we got to see more of the original Ghostbusters in this film, as well as the new Spengler family. I love Paul Rudd and McKenna Grace, but I'm very thankful we got to see all the OGs come back for this movie as well. But one of my favorite aspects of this film is the absolutely adorable LGBTQ representation we get between McKenna Grace and Emily Ann Lynn's characters. I know they never kissed or anything like that, so people debate whether or not the relationship was supposed to be romantic, but I personally think it's very clear they had loving feelings for each other. And as a member of the LGBT community myself, I always appreciate being represented in a positive way. I also loved all the different types of spirits, ghosts, and phantoms in this movie. And I thought the creature design of Garaka was genuinely frightening. This movie is funny, scary, and heartwarming. So whether you're a new Ghostbusters fan or an old one, this film is definitely worth watching. So if it's cold outside, cover up with blankets and light a fire, then sit back and watch Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire. Wind River. A wildlife officer finds the body of an 18-year-old woman on an American Indian reservation in snowy Wyoming. But when the autopsy reveals some disturbing information, an FBI agent arrives to investigate. Teaming up together, the duo soon find that their lives are in danger, while still trying to solve the mystery of the woman's death. So this movie stars Jeremy Renner and Elizabeth Olsen, aka Hawkeye and the Scarlet Witch. I've loved both of them for years, and I think it's really cool that they did another movie together. Both of them are incredibly talented, and have such a great emotional range in this film. This movie isn't a horror film in the traditional sense. It's more of a dark mystery thriller. But I find it horrific because of the very dark subject matter and disturbing things that happen within the film that are sadly realistic things that can and have happened in real life. I really enjoyed the mystery aspect of this film. There's lots of twists and turns and moments that left me shocked. And this is also one of those films where the environment is so cold and freezing that you yourself start to feel cold while watching the film. Overall, this is a very emotionally engaging, dark, disturbing, bleak, and realistic movie, with a great mystery and incredible actors. So when it's snowing outside and your skin starts to shiver, I recommend watching Wind River. Hashtag Screamers. When an up-and-coming internet company decides to investigate a series of strange viral videos, they unexpectedly find themselves in the middle of a horrific mystery. So I'm not sure if anyone else remembers this, but in the early 2000s there was this popular craze of jump scare videos on YouTube. and each video was basically the same thing. You see a cat laying down or a car far off in the distance, and you wait and wait for something to happen. And then when you least expect it, someone or something jumps at the screen and scares the hell out of you. Well, in this movie, we have this knockoff YouTube type of website, and they keep seeing those jump scare videos online and want to find the original source of the videos. But they basically fall into a dark rabbit hole while trying to solve the mystery. And they don't know if what's happening is real or a prank or supernatural, but there's some elements to the story that even involve famous serial killer Jack the Ripper. And I just kept getting more intrigued and invested as the story progressed. This film leaves you questioning what you just watched, and the ending is definitely open to interpretation. But this is one of those found footage films that feels very authentic and real. And if you didn't know you were watching a movie, you might think you were actually watching a documentary. So if the weather outside is colder than the freezer, then I recommend watching #Screamers. Curtains from 1983. Six young actresses auditioning for a movie role at a snowy remote mansion are targeted by a mysterious masked murderer. At first glance, this might just seem like another generic slasher film, but it's so much deeper than it appears to be. I mean, it is definitely a slasher, but it's what Ghostface would call a fancy pants horror film. It's scary, but with complex emotional and thematic underpinnings. It's not just some schlocky cheeseball nonsense with wall-to-wall jump scares. There's lots of symbolism and metaphors. For example, the mask represents fear of becoming old and losing your beauty, and the doll represents youth and childhood innocence. But this is a slasher film, after all, and while most of the kills just involve people getting stabbed to death with a knife, there are a couple very memorable kills, and the snowy scenery only amplifies how noteworthy they are. And of course, I gotta talk about how creepy the mask is in this movie. The villain is referred to as the Old Hag. And like I said earlier, the mask is supposed to represent fear of becoming old and losing your beauty. I know this film isn't very popular. I don't think many people even know it exists. But for how much thought and detail was put into this movie, I'm surprised more people don't talk about it. There's definitely potential for more movies, with the same lore, themes, and overall aesthetic. So if you're searching for an underrated, deep, meaningful, retro, snowy slasher, I am absolutely certain that you will love watching Curtains. Scare Me. During a power outage due to a winter storm, two strangers tell each other scary stories. But the more they commit to their tales, the more the stories come to life, and the horrors of reality begin to manifest. This is a very unusual anthology film, because normally in anthology films, someone will begin telling a story, and then we'll cut away and have a segment with different actors portraying different characters, and we see that story play out before cutting back to the character telling the story. But in this film, there's no cutaway to different actors or different segments. It's just two characters telling each other scary stories, and that's the whole film. And everyone I've told about this movie thinks it sounds incredibly boring. And I'm not gonna lie, before I saw the film, I was worried it was going to be as well. Because in the wrong hands, this film could have been like watching paint dry. But because of the incredible acting from both main characters, this turned out to be an extremely unique film, and honestly, an underrated masterpiece. The characters are very fun and engaging. There's a really dark twist I didn't expect. The stories are very creepy and creative, and the setting and location of the secluded snowy cabin is the perfect balance between creepy and cozy. I honestly thought about making this movie my number one choice on the list, because this is one of my favorite films I've seen in a long time. So if there's a winter storm, get comfy and brew some tea, then sit back and watch Scare Me. I Still See You. 10 years after an apocalyptic event left the world haunted by ghosts, Ronnie receives a threatening message from beyond the grave. Teaming up with her mysterious classmate, Kirk, Ronnie descends into a shadow world that blurs the boundaries of the living and the dead. So this is a supernatural mystery horror film, starring Bella Thorne and Dermot Mulroney. My friend really loves this movie, and when I found out it stars Bella Thorne, I had to watch it. And I gotta say, I know everybody loves to hate on Bella Thorne for some reason, but we need to get her in more horror films, because I feel like she has the potential to become a scream queen. She was already in both Babysitter movies and the Scream TV series. So I'm just saying, Hollywood, get Bella Thorne in more horror movies, please. But anyways, back to the movie. So there was this apocalyptic event that killed hundreds of people. And as a result, the world is basically haunted by their ghosts. Some of the ghosts are nice and friendly, and some of them are mean and scary, to say the least. But the spirits aren't constantly around. They only appear sometimes, and some of them are trapped in some type of limbo, basically repeating one particular moment over and over again. And I gotta say, I was really surprised by how much I enjoyed this film. I didn't think I would like it very much, but I was really invested in both the characters, the mystery, and the story as a whole. And this movie also has an absolutely incredible climax. And this is pretty random, but I wanted to mention it anyway. One of the main characters in this movie is nicknamed Ghost Boy. And I thought that was pretty funny and ironic. So this winter, if you're searching for a supernatural horror mystery to cheer you up when you're feeling blue, then I recommend watching I Still See You. Now, before I reveal the number one movie on my list, I want to talk about some honorable mentions. Terrifier 3. Obviously, I love Art the Clown, so I did really consider including Terrifier 3 on this list, but it is very much so a Christmas film. And I already discussed it in my previous Christmas video, so I decided not to officially include it in my top 10 list. But it is a fantastic film, and definitely worth watching. One Winter's Night, a gothic animated short film by Emmeline Boyle. I've been wanting to talk about this short film ever since I made my very first winter horror movie list. It's only about 7 minutes long, but it's so beautiful, poetic, and genuinely scary. Imagine if you mixed Over the Garden Wall with Tim Burton and some of Edgar Allan Poe's best poems. That's what this short film is like. And between the aesthetic, the narration, the animation, and the amount of detail put into this short film, it's an absolute masterpiece. And it will honestly make you afraid to go to sleep at night. So if you want a snowy animated short film that will fill you with fright, then I definitely recommend checking out One Winter's Night. And now, the number one movie on my list, and one of the best cult classic winter horror movies of all time is Iced from 1988. At a snowbound, isolated ski resort high in the slopes, 7 friends become the victims of a cold-blooded maniac who turns their dream vacation into hell on ice. So this film actually reminded me a lot of Ghost Keeper and The Chill Factor. But both of those films have supernatural elements, and this movie does not. But this is, without a doubt, one of the cheesiest, silliest, campiest, 80s-est, retroist slasher films I've ever seen. But I mean that in the best way possible, because I did really enjoy this film. Unfortunately, it's almost impossible to track down. I found it online last year, and the quality was literally 360p. But I wanted to watch it so badly, so I suffered through the crappy quality. But thankfully, my mom is so awesome that she found the DVD and got it for me for Christmas. So big shout out to her, thank you Mom. This movie stars Lisa Loring, who played the young version of Wednesday Addams in the old Addams Family TV series. I personally never watched that show, but I thought it was worth mentioning. This film also reminded me a little bit of Stephen King's It, or It Chapter 2, specifically when the Losers Club reunite 27 years later. Because at the beginning of this film, we have a few scenes of the friend group hanging out, but then we cut 5 years later, when one of the friends has passed away, and it just felt very reminiscent of when the Losers Club reunited after Stanley's death. Except, unlike that film, this one is actually a lot of fun, and isn't super depressing. And one of my favorite aspects of this movie is the awesome, crazy, cheesy, over-the-top kills, and the super cozy but creepy setting of the ski lodge as well. The isolated snowy scenery and the location makes for a very beautiful yet ominous setting. Something I did not expect from this movie is the fact that I was genuinely surprised by the ending of the film. I expected the reveal to be very predictable, but I was really surprised with the outcome. Overall, this is a very fun, enjoyable slasher film. So if you're like me and you love old school retro slasher films from the 80s, then you should definitely check this one out. So this winter, if you're craving a silly, campy, 80s retro slasher film, this one will absolutely suffice. So I highly recommend watching Iced. Well, everybody, that's the end of my list. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you check out some of these snowy, wintry horror movies. For the past couple years during wintertime, I normally do 2 videos dedicated to cold, snowy horror movies. But I've decided this year I'm only going to do this one. But I will be doing another video in February dedicated to horror films, but it won't be winter horror movies. It's going to be a new theme that I've never done before, so stay tuned for that. But until next time, stay indoors, stay warm, and stay safe from the snowstorm.
Winter's even colder without you. Snowstorm got me stuck in my room. Black ice all over the ground. You see through everything now. Winter's even colder without you. Snowstorm got me stuck in my room. Black ice all over the ground. You see through everything now. Winter's even colder without you. Snowstorm got me stuck in my room. Black ice all over the ground. You see through everything now. Winter's even colder without you. Snowstorm got me stuck in my room. Black ice all over the ground. You see through everything now. Winter's even colder without you. Snowstorm got me stuck in my room. Black ice all over the ground. You see through everything now. Winter's even colder without you. Snowstorm got me stuck in my room. Black ice all over the ground. You see through everything now. Winter's even colder without you. Snowstorm got me stuck in my room. Black ice all over the ground. You see through everything